The importance of the domain name. Before you even start to build your site, of course, you have to come up with your domain name. The domain name is extremely important. It is the name that is associated with your site. Now, you might be saying, I already have my domain, and that's great. You can't do too much once you already have your site. You can't change your domain name. Of course, you would lose a lot of things there. But just let's say that you're starting a new site. Let's talk about the factors that go into picking a good domain name. .com is the best extension. There are several extensions out there. .coms can run you, I would say the average price is about $10. You can find them for as low as $6 or $7 on a regular basis. But of course, some other domain extensions like .info can be found a lot cheaper. However, .com carries with it a great sense of credibility. Let's talk about this for a second. If I came across two sites, and one was .com, one was .info, I would definitely see the .com as being a more important site because it just has that kind of name brandness to it, I guess I'm trying to say. Now, .infos can be found for $1, $2, but again, I'm going to strongly recommend that you go with the .com if you're serious about your business. This is the one thing, if you have a domain and you pick the .info, and if you just started out, I would seriously consider starting over with the .com just because it's a big deal. Now, .net is also, they do okay, but I think that I'm going to find that I'm always going to go with the .com. Now, part of the problem is there are so many domain names out there. If you try to find a .com, it can be hard because a lot of the good names are already taken. However, I'm going to encourage you to be creative just because .com carries a lot of weight. You want to make it easy to remember, so a domain name like Dog Training Tips for you that you'll enjoy and they're really cool. That's pretty long. It's pretty hard for people to remember. It's also pretty hard for people to type in and then to find. So you want to keep that in mind. And of course, the shorter the better. So that doesn't mean I could go out and purchase dogtraining.com. Of course, that domain name was taken long ago. But I want to encourage you to be creative. There are some places you can go, such as Nameboy. Located at nameboy.com, where you can type in an idea and they'll give you some options as far as what's available. You could type in dog and training, and it'll give you all kinds of different variations on that. Of course, you want to make sure that it's easy to remember. You also want to make sure that it's representative of the content on your website. Sometimes people take this for granted, but you'd be surprised how many websites have a name and they don't really deal with that name, and that can certainly hurt you in the long run. You want to keep in mind, remember, you want people, of course, to be able to remember it easy so they can tell their friends and return to it again in the future, but also make it representative so people, if they see your domain name written somewhere or posted somewhere, it's going to give them a general idea of what it's about. Now, of course, some very popular sites have strange names like Dig or even Yahoo. When the internet came around, I'm sure people say, Yahoo, what in the world is this? But and that goes with the brand and what we're going to talk about in a minute. But also, just keeping in mind, if you can, if possible, to have it represent the content, you certainly don't want to have it be misleading. Short names are best whenever possible. Again, if you have a super long domain name, it's going to be pretty hard to remember. I haven't had personal proof of this from my own testing, but just the general consensus has been, the shorter the better for multiple reasons, just to keep that in mind. You want to stay away from numbers and hyphens. This is actually pretty important. Dog training is taken, but why not have your site be called Dog Training 236-7? Well, you know what, it's not really easy to remember. Now, this doesn't mean that you couldn't, there can be some times where there's an exception, like 7-Eleven, of course, that's a gas station. They could have a number in their domain name, and people are going to get that. But just generally speaking, numbers and hyphens, they're harder to remember, and my understanding is it can also hurt you in the search engines. Again, I don't know if that's the case. It's a rumor. Some people tend to shy away from it. I think that you'll find that something like Dog Training Tips is taken, but if you throw in hyphens in there, maybe it's not, and that's certainly an option. But again, I think that hyphens, they don't appear to be natural, and that's why search engines are hesitant and don't review it as being authoritative enough. I'm just passing that on to you. Also, keep the potential for branding in mind. Brand is essentially when you come out with a new name. A lot of good ones are already taken, so you have the opportunity to create a website where you're coming up with some type of name. MySpace. I think that's a good example. Before that was created, that wasn't a word that meant anything, but now everybody knows that it's a really hot place to go to set up your own profile and get in touch with old friends, and Facebook's another one. Again, they just took a name, they took two simple words, my and space, and put them together, and they created something that is now memorable to people. And you can give that a try. Things like eBay, even Yahoo. These are brands that they've ingrained in people, and they've caught on, and now it's a household name, and you have the opportunity to do that with websites. So again, you find that dog training tips, dog training advice, they're all taken, but you can come up with some kind of new word that's going to be memorable to people and also easy to remember and all that good stuff. So these are all different things to keep in mind. Again, I won't stress over it too much because a domain name is not going to make or break you. But if it's possible to meet more of these factors, it's going to help you in the long run. So just keep that in mind and give it some thought. I would not suggest jumping into a domain name. Write down a couple possibilities and kind of iron it out, and just keep in mind, the better you can do, the better off you'll be.